Okay. So hi everyone. We'll wait for a couple of minutes before starting in order to allow everyone that will join to join us today. Okay, so I guess we can start. Hello everybody. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on the talent technologies, more specifically talent data fabric. And today we are going to discuss on the journey from the chaos that many companies have in the data to reaching the trusted data. My name is Alexandru Savencu, and I will start with a very brief introduction on our company. So btProvider was established in 2012. We have two major business lines. One is data analytics, where we collect, store, process, and analyze any kind of data in from any kind of source, and I would like to add also from in any industry. We are partnering with Talend for the purpose of including one of the top solutions in our portfolio currently in the market. And we are using Talend solutions in our deployments in order to integrate data, in order to cleanse and harmonize the data, as well as to generate basically a single repository for all the data of a company, regardless of the source. We are also partnering with Vertica. Vertica is one of the most performant databases in the market right now. It provides, on top of immense performance, it also provides the most comprehensive set of analytical functions, and also provides a built-in machine learning management, machine learning model management. We are also partnering with Tableau. We are basically the largest Tableau partner in the region. With Tableau, we have a successful track of 6+ years of running the business. And basically, the combination of Tableau, Vertica, and Talend is one of our, let's say, key components to our success and also our customer success. We have another line of business. We are partnering with Salesforce in order to help our customers embrace the digital journey via the Salesforce solutions, either in the areas of sales, services, marketing, regardless if it's B2B or B2C. Today, we have together with us our partner and friend Jason Cruz from Talend. He's a solution architect in Talend. Today he will provide the walkthrough in the Talend solution. Hello, Jason.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, so let's discuss on the journey. So basically, as I was saying in the beginning, many companies are struggling with the data chaos. One example that we're showing is the famous retail brand Target that is very successful in the US. And they had basically a huge issue in the supply chain for their stores in Canada. Basically, this problem was generated by the fact that they had inconsistent data for stocks, which led to basically shelves being basically empty for increased periods of times, which made, of course, the shopping experience less pleasant. They even came to the conclusion that they would have to do manual inventory for all the stores, which led them to closing basically 133 shops throughout Canada, a total loss of about $2.5 billion, and they had to fire 17,000 employees, mostly because of the data. So, other facts. Many companies have many and increased number of data sources. All of us, we are working with internal systems like ERPs, for example, or other accounting software. We have CRMs that may be on premise or in cloud. We have data from the ads platforms. We have data from social media, and of course, many other internal platforms. I would say that the data sources range in the hundreds for each company, and of course, it's a huge challenge to manage such data in such complex environments. And moreover, they're increasing as soon as we are embracing more and more technologies, more and more services that are available in the market. Of course, the complexity of our data grows in time. Another issue that companies are facing is related to shadow IT. Shadow IT defines basically those, let's say, IT solutions that are developed and maintained in the business departments because they don't want to wait for IT to provide a solution, and in many situations, IT is proving to be a bottleneck both in timing and also in understanding the business needs. Hence, business departments are creating their own, let's say, isolated, siloed solutions, which is called shadow IT. It is estimated that the costs of shadow IT are ranging globally at $1.5 trillion. It is also estimated that revenue loss that occurs due to bad data accounts for about 30% of a company's revenue, which is huge because basically we can, let's say, recover the loss in revenue by improving our data, not only quality but also comprehensiveness. Moreover, in statistics also say that a good portion, almost half of the data transformation projects fail. And basically also studies show that only 10% of data transformation projects are really having the success that they were planned for. What are the effects of the chaos in the data? Data can become limited. There is a huge danger when you have access to limited data. Why? Because you, as a decision maker in a data-driven company, means that you are taking decisions based on part of the data, or basically you are not considering all the relevant data that you should consider for the decisions that you're taking. And this is valid for all levels in the organization. This is not limited to the CEO or COO. This is applicable to all levels, regardless of the decision within the company. The data may be confusing. Why? Because it could be difficult to understand. If it is not modeled properly, if it is not, let's say, aggregated properly, or if it's not properly described, then it can become confusing for any data user. That means that any data user who will find data difficult to understand, they will simply try to avoid using it, which of course leads to losses in terms of revenue or even opportunities, or also wasted efforts in the data preparation. The data, of course, can be outdated because if you don't have a data infrastructure that keeps the data fresh and in sync with all other systems that are producing data, then you might have outdated data. That means that the decisions that you're taking are not based on the most up-to-date data in your organization. Inaccurate data is another source of issues where companies that are not having, let's say, a clear model for KPIs calculation or for exposing the data to end users. Moreover, if the trace of the data or source of the data is not properly mapped into the data infrastructure, it can lead to inaccurate data presented to data consumers. All in all, data may become unreliable. So one of the big dangers is that data consumers will start to lose faith in the data. They will begin not to trust the data. That means that their decisions will be less data driven than they should be. It's obvious to say that the data chaos impacts every aspect of the business. Starting from the technical department. So a software developer might not have the full picture of the data use cases that are to be, let's say, implemented or addressed in the software they produced. Data architects and data engineers are also facing increased difficulties in processing data that is not properly managed. Analysts, they are experiencing the exact issues that we discussed in the previous section. That is, they become they tend to think that data is no longer reliable. They cannot trust the data. They are trying to produce their own data sources, which of course are siloed from the others, and so on. Procurement. Coming back to the example of Target, there is a gap that is produced in the supply chain when you have inaccurate stock data that leads to issues in the procurement activities, which, as it happened in the case of Target, led to massive loss of revenue and even closing the entire subsidiary for a large country such as Canada. Sales and marketing, of course, they are again impacted because when they don't have a clear picture on, for example, in marketing, what is the reach of my campaigns? How many customers or potential customers am I addressing? Out of these leads that I'm producing via various marketing channels, how many are becoming my customers? And also from existing customers, how are they using my solution? How are they embracing? How can we expand? And so on. On a slightly separate level, there could be compliance issues. Even in the context of GDPR, these compliance issues have become more and more stringent. But basically, even in regulated environments, there is a strong need for your data to be compliant in order to make sure that you operate in an environment that is compliant to all legal requirements applicable. And of course, everything is impacting the CEO and CFO, that if they don't have on this pyramid, if they don't have proper data to take their decisions on, then their success will be less and less guaranteed. How do we find trust in the data chaos? Trust is one of the most important aspect, because we trust the data if it's correct, up to date, complete, and easy to understand. If we trust the data, then we can use it to the advantage of our organization. What is the advantage? The advantage is that we can transform the customer experience. There is an increasing number of companies, and we see this from all our digitalization projects that we're working on, is that companies have realized the need for having a more and more personalized experience in front of their customers. The more data you have and the more data you calculate related to your customers, the more personalized experience you have. In this way, you make the customer feel closer to your company's services and products, and he will be more and more inclined to strengthen the relationship with your company. Another benefit would be related to operational efficiency. In today's world, every department and every person hired in a company is working in a very well organized Swiss watch mechanism. And if they don't cooperate very well together, if the processes and data flows between the departments are not working properly, then operational efficiency goes down. One of the benefits of having a trusted data environment is increasing operational efficiency exactly by improving the processes and improving the data flows between such departments. Another advantage is basically the fact that having trusted data, we reduce the risk that is applicable to our company, of course, pertaining to each specific domain and industry. And also very important, we are ensuring compliance also to the standards that we apply for, and also for the regulatory requirements. One other important benefit is that when we have trusted data, we are able to innovate faster. We are not, first of all, we are not wasting time on checking and rechecking the data, to making connections in the data and so on. No, we are focusing on new things. We are focusing on optimizations. We are focused on bringing new services, new functionalities, new features for our customers. And this gives us a very good ground for the innovation. How can we get trusted data? This is the kind of reason why customers choose to implement talent solutions. In the concept of talent, there is the fact that you have a single platform to manage the data infrastructure. You have a single platform to correlate various data sources, and you have a single platform to present data to the data consumers. Data consumers may be people, of course, people that are directly connecting to the data. It can be various BI or other analytical applications. It can be machine learning applications, and it can be also operational systems. In talent concept, all of this can have to be let's say executed and orchestrated in a unified platform that provides this kind of abilities at scale. What do we achieve based on a talent-based deployment? We achieve clarity, agility, and compliance. Why clarity? Because we have full control on any data process that is executed in the platform. We gain agility because it is Talend is a very easy to use solution. It relies on many years of experience, and it allows for multiple data engineers and data stewards to log on and manage their own activities within the platform, thus leading to a shorter time to market. Moreover, there is the benefit of compliance, because in the platform, any data process is trackable and auditable in order to ensure compliance to any audit requirements. Good. Another advantage is that deploying such a platform aids to driving the required or desired business outcomes. How? Any data infrastructure fits into the role where we need to pick up all the bits and bytes that are produced by any system that we are using, and we need to make something workable out of it. Something workable is that something that the data consumer will use for their own analysis, what if analysis, and optimization activities in order to produce the required business outcome for each and every role in the organization. Last but not the least, having a unified platform with so much intelligence built in helps you improve your productivity in terms of data management, and also helps you reduce the costs by having a solution that is easy to use, highly scalable, and which allows collaboration between many actors in the process. One important component in the talent data fabric is the Talentra Score, which is basically an engine which analyzes the data that you have and provides a score. It analyzes the quality of the data. It analyzes the popularity, basically how it is used, and also it combines the user rating, custom ratings in the scores. Of course, this is not simply getting a score, but basically Talentra Score is embedded in the data management processes by involving the data stewards on the specific data domain where required, depending on the scores and the thresholds that we set up. So with Talent Data Fabric, you can transform data that, as we saw, can be limited, confusing, outdated, or inaccurate. So you can move from limited data to thorough data. Thorough means clean and complete. We cannot take a decision if the data is not complete. That means if we don't have access to the complete set of data that we need, and if it's not clean. You will be able to move from confusing through to transparent. Transparent means that it is accessible. So basically, every data consumer will know what data is available, and once he has access to the data, it is also understandable. In our projects, we have faced many times the situation where basically immense efforts were spent in order to publish data sets to end users, but there was an important information missing. Any user that wanted to access data didn't know what data was already available. So basically, any new user that needed a data set, they had to create their own without basically reusing what was already there. And in terms of understandable, there is a high need to have a common definition of each KPI measurement and dimension that we have in our data, in order for any department to be able to speak the same language, in order for any data user to understand how a specific KPI is calculated and what are the sources of the calculation. You'll be able to move from outdated data to timely data. That data that is refreshed as per each data source with the required refresh interval. The refresh interval may range from real time to near real time, or in many cases even daily. You will move from inaccurate data to traceable data. Traceable means that, as I was saying, I will be able to understand what is the source of the data in my KPI. Where is this data coming from? How can I, if the case, how can I improve the data collection in that area? We are also addressing the reliability factor of the data, which means that the data, as part of the data integration activities, is also tested and certified. And more and more tools are also embracing the concept of data certification in order to be transparent to the data consumers in terms of the quality or certification status of the data. In the end, we'll reach an environment that provides complete, trusted, and timely data that allows us, as previously explained, to transform the customer experience, to increase the operational efficiency, to reduce the risk and ensure the compliance, and also to allow us to innovate faster. This is how Talent Data Fabric, together with Talentra Score, manages the data chaos and gives us a very clear funnel in the activities that we need to perform in order to reach this kind of improvements. Talent Data Fabric is a platform agnostic. It can be deployed on-premise, it can be deployed in cloud, and you can also have a hybrid architecture. Talend Data Fabric, it allows you to collect, but also govern the data that you are managing. The processes that are around Talend Data Fabric, and basically they are there in any data platform, allows you to fully govern by the involvement of required roles for each stage or action required by the data actors, be it data engineers or architects, be it integration specialists, data stewards, or any other consumers such as analysts or data scientists. So in a fully managed lifecycle, you will be able to collect, govern, transform, and share the data. This is the purpose of any data infrastructure, and you'll be able to approach all aspects related to manageability, auditing, traceability, in order ultimately to provide complete, trusted, and timely data to your users. How is Talend Data Fabric different from other solutions in the market? It provides data integration, integrity, and governance in a single platform with real-time data delivery, of course, where applicable. The main concept is that this is a unified platform. You don't need to spend time integrating various platforms and deal with the complexities of multiple data platforms. In Talend, you have a single unified data platform. The Talend Data Platform provides you with insights on the status of your data to the lowest level possible, and in certain cases, you will be able to very easily understand how you can fix the issues that you have in your data. One important differentiator of the Talend Data Fabric solution is that it is flexible. It has native connectivity to 1,000+ sources. It is platform agnostic in terms of deployment. It is very easy to scale, and we saw this with each and every implementation that we did. And it is future proof. Why is it future proof? Because basically, it relies on an open architecture which allows for easy extensibility. Several examples of successful customers. So Accor, this is the hospitality chain. They perceived a 12% increase in satisfaction of elite customers. How? They were able to collect more and more detailed data of their customers. AstraZeneca achieved operational efficiency by managing to save $1 billion per year with faster clinical trials. Basically, they were able to correlate the data from the clinical trials in a much faster manner. Ariba managed to ingest significant amounts of data to the data lake for fraud monitoring. And AB InBev, they were able to increase or decrease the development time by 75%. These are only mere examples of customers that achieved such objectives. And what we will talk about is how do you need, and how do you envision that these kind of objectives may be achieved with the current, let's say, challenges that you have in your organization, and to open a conversation on how we can help you in this perspective. Good. I will send the presentation to Jason for a live demo of the Talend features. Jason, I think you'll be able to share your screen now.
Yes, I can. Maybe just give me a minute.
So in Jason's demo, we'll be able to focus on basically the agility that you will achieve with the Talend solution, ability to integrate various processes such as data integration and data cleaning in a live demo of the Talend solution.
So here, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you a bit about how the Talend actually data fabric works and what kind of a solution that we have. As Alex was mentioning, one of the things which we have, which is where everything starts, is with the data set itself. So just to confirm, you can see my data set, correct? Yes.
We can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. And apologies for that. Okay. So can you see the data set now?
Yeah, we can see the data inventory in marketing customer contacts.
Exactly. So here, basically, what we're doing is we are starting with the one thing with everything starts with. We're starting with a data set. Now, one of the things which Alex was mentioning was how you need to have clean data and be able to understand that data. Being able to bring that data into a platform like Talend, it gives you what we call the trust score. And this is an actual visual representation of the trust score and how it works. So every time that we bring in a new data set into the Talend platform, we're able to analyze that data set. And this is done using the Talend engine in the background to understand how that data is being used, what the validity of the data is, what it actually brings in. So we're able to see a few things, like, for example, the details on the data, what the kind of validity is, the popularity, how much it's being used, the completeness of the data. Is the data fully available? Are there many empty fields with the data? Is the data very discoverable? It's actually easy to understand. And how much is it actually being used? Not just accessed, but actually used. Not only in this case, one of the things which we have with the data is it allows you to be able to create an environment of social curation with the data, being able to bring in people who understand the data, people who work with the data on a daily basis, and being able to bring them in to give their own ratings, give their own comments on the data, and also being able to certify the data if they are the data steward in charge of that kind of data. So everything always starts with this here in the data. Now, there are two main components when it comes to Talend. There is the Talend platform, which is where you carry out all the orchestration and have a couple of applications, which I'll be showing you it a bit more. And also, apart from that, what there is we have the Talend Studio, which is where we create these kind of flows. Now, the Studio is something which, as a usage, is designed to be as simple as possible. We have a lot of connectors. We have over 1,000 connectors to be able to connect with any kind of system. But the fact is that the components that we use are not just only for being able to connect to sources and databases, or be it files, or be it locations, or where you have kind of blob storage of using Azure, for example, or S3 buckets of using AWS. The components itself also are functions at the end of the day. When we talk about how we usually start with Talend is what you're doing is you're creating a process. Whereas with most platforms and most software nowadays, you have to adapt your business to the software. Talend works completely different. Talend, at the end of the day, is a blank canvas. What does that mean? Very, very simply, what it means is that you can grab the solution and adapt it to your environment. Imagine you have a white piece of paper and you're jotting down how the data has to move through your organization. So first, what do you do? In the first instance, you connect to your data. Then you want to start to prepare your data a bit. Then you want to start to meld your data together, bring it all together. Then you want to do some additional quality validation to the data. And that's exactly what we do here, but we do it in a visual manner and using components with their configurations. So specifically what we're seeing here is a talent job. This is a process that will be running automated. Once you create it, it'll be running on the platform, and you don't really have to worry or even look at the process again, just to confirm that it's running or not. So here, the first thing that we're doing is we're actually connecting to 3 different components. We're bringing in information from 3 different systems, because at the end of the day, what we want to try to do is we want to try to increase the visibility of our customers. And how better to do that than bringing in the data from everywhere that we have for a customer to create a 360-degree view of that customer and that data point specifically. So here we're bringing in 3 pieces of data. We're bringing in data from Salesforce, from Twitter, Marketo. These are just components where you are selecting what it is that you want to actually bring in. And then it comes to the preparation. Now, when it comes to preparation of data, many people start realizing, well, you have to change your formats of data. Well, you have to start looking at what's the kind of programming required to be able to change your data. Talend is designed to make all of these pain points something very, very simple to use. So how does it work with this? Very, very simple. Like I said, things start with the data set itself. In particular, from all my data sets, there's one data set that I want to actually work on and prepare. And this is my marketing data from Marketo. And how do I do this? So for this, I invoke a component which invokes our data preparation application. As I mentioned before, the first thing that starts with the data set itself, which is exactly what we can see here. This is the data set here that we're going to be working on with from Marketo, and I'm going to be preparing. So the first thing I do is I can look at the data and the data how it looks. So I can already see that there's 1% of erroneous values, there's 4% of missing values. I can see that I have a header which I don't really need, so that's all extra. So what it is that I'm going to do with this? So with this data, I'm going to create a preparation of the data. I want it prepared in a certain way, so I'm creating a new preparation of the data. And this takes me to the Talend data preparation application. So like I said, there's a few things that I want to start to prepare the data. I want to move it to make it more readable, how it's going to be at the end of my database. Or for example, if I'm an analyst and I have data that I've extracted from the database, and I need to start working the data to make it more clean, to be able to fit into machine learning models. There's some aggregations that I might have to do, or there is some formats of the data that I need to check out, or maybe someone in the company has asked me for data to use for a specific project, and I might want to mask the data, mask the privacy part of that data to make sure that I don't have any kind of leaks in terms of the confidentiality of the data outside of the organization. So here we're looking at the preparation, but with a whole governance aspect to the data all around this. So let's start with preparing the data. Like I said, the one thing that I need to do is I need to remove my header. It's something that I don't really need. So I can just simply click on my header, go on row, and delete the row. Here on the right-hand side, we have all the different functions available to you. The next thing I tend to do is I need to look at the other pieces of data. So for this data specifically, one thing that I would like to do is I would like to mask the data so that, for example, the email address is something which would not be, you cannot see. Apologies for this, it actually seems my internet connection is a bit slow today. One of the joys of working from home. So here what I've done is I've actually deleted the row, and now the row is not available. There's another thing that I might do. So like I said, I might actually grab my email and I might mask the data. I look for the options here on the side. I can see that I've got quite a number of options. And then if I'm not too sure, there's always a good number of suggestions which I can use. And that's exactly what I'm doing in this case. I'm looking at suggestions and looking at the mask data. So I can choose a different kind of masking function that I want to carry out. If I want to replace, I want to remove, keep certain pieces of info. But what I want to do specifically is I want to keep some part of the information. So I'm going to do a bit of semantic masking. And then choose if I want to repeatable or random. In this case, I'm just going to choose random. So now the data, as you can see, I am keeping the domain part of the data, but what I'm doing is I am completely taking out the first part. And that's because I want to do some bit of analytics in here. The next thing I want to do is I want them looking at my data, and I can see already, look, there is a first name here which has a leading and a trailing white spot, white space. So I just simply click on the last name, remove these, and as you can see, I am not doing any kind of programming. There is nothing specific that is being created. There's nothing manual that I'm currently doing where I'm having to code in any way. It's designed to be as simple as possible. Next we can do is we can start looking at the cities. Now, here, what we're doing is we're actually seeing that some of the cities are written incorrect. Now, you're able to create a new dictionary to show the semantic possibilities here, and then be able to fix it. But in this case, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to standardize the value and match it to whatever I have in the dictionary. So it's simple. So I can see that Baton Rouge, which was written incorrectly, is now written as Baton Rouge, which is actually a correct value. But what is actually happening here? I don't need my full data set to be able to do what I'm doing now. Just with a small sample is more than enough. And with a small sample, what I'm doing at the very same time is each of these steps is creating what we call a recipe on the left-hand side to create it. Now, if I show you a preparation which is already available, I'll show you a complete recipe of the data and the data prepared in how I'd like to see it. So I have all my different steps here of the data and I have everything changed to exactly how I require it. So if I go back to my job, what is happening here? I am bringing the data and then I'm invoking the preparation. The preparation I've just made, the preparation you've just seen, I'm using that as an automated option and I'm telling them, right, any data coming from Marquita, I want that to be completely prepared in how I've done it. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to map my data. And then we start to imagine mapping, you have to start coding and say, right, this is equal to this. We don't do that. What we do is very, very simple. We have a mapping software. Part of the application as well, you just have to select what you need and drag it. If instead of one output, you need more than one output, well, let's add another output. Let's say that this output is going to be specifically for marketing and has a different process attached to it. So I'm just going to pick up the first name, the last name, the email, and the campaign. And I just have to drag it onto my next output. And that's exactly what I'm creating here. I'm just creating different outputs, grabbing the data and pushing the data in the way that it's going to be required at any part of my process. Then what does I do? Then I'm uniting my data. And then I'm actually checking for duplicates of the data. Just double checking the algorithm of the data and seeing, right, is this the same? Is this not the same? And these are all configured using very, very simple match rules. There's a recurrent theme that you find here, which is you don't need to know how to program to be able to do this. You need to have some kind of IT knowledge, yes, but you don't actually need anything too much of that kind. So here what we're doing is, for example, we're creating the matching functions. You're just selecting which columns you want to match and then the kind of function that you want to add to that match. And then you can see a small sample of the data and what it actually is being picked up. And then what are we doing? Here, what we're doing is we want to use up the wider business. So the question is, right, if something is a unique value, can you write it to the database? Yes. But if it's a duplicate value, what are you going to do? You need to add in an extra step. And that is where we have our stewardship function. So what we're doing is we're grabbing all the data which is uncertain, all those duplicates. We are sorting that data. We are masking specific columns in that data in the same way. And then we are sending it to our stewards. What is it actually that the stewards do? So very, very simply for this, they use what we call the stewardship component. So very, very simply, what they're doing is they are opening up a campaign. And imagine me, for example, as a manager, what I'm doing is I'm seeing all the tasks that need to be completed, and I assign the tasks to whichever one of the person in my organization is actually the one who's going to be dealing with the tasks. Now for the demo, it's just me, and me. So I'm just going to sit down here and look at it. So here for the first thing that we're doing is we are trying to understand where the data is coming from. So this is only from CRM. So this data is correct. So I can just validate it by clicking the lock and it goes green. Then there might be some data here which might be not correct or not. So I can see the main record, which is Guillaume Adamo, but I can see that the first name is actually written incorrect. My Twitter is actually correct though. So I can simply just select and choose which data component and from which system is actually the correct piece of data. The same here, I can see that the Twitter username is missing from our marketing. So here what I can do is I can just click on the arrow and add in. So my data is now correct. In the same way as well, now here I'm doing exactly the same. I'm just choosing which data points are the ones which are correct. And I can see this one's correct. Once I've done this, what I'm doing is I'm validating my response, and that's my job done. So I am a data steward. I am someone from the business who is coming in and carrying out these kind of actions to help with the quality of the data. And it gives me a sense of ownership of the data. I am someone who understands my data. I know I'm someone who understands what kind of data and the format that it should be in and what is correct or shouldn't be correct. And for this, I'm using a stewardship campaign. And lastly, the one thing that we tend to do is we tend to say, right, what happens once the data is correct? So once everything has been reviewed, you would have another process which is triggered, which is this kind of a job. And what this does is it reads your validated tasks, it transforms them, and then unmasks the data and records it directly to the database. So here what we're seeing is we're seeing a complete 360-degree view of that data. We are trying to understand how the data is being prepared, how the data is being used, and the most common theme here is the fact that the data is completely not programmed in any way. It's just configured. These are components that you just drag and drop. So for example, if we start looking at the main kind of job and say, right, I want a job that, for example, picks up my errors. So it's just a question of saying, right, I want to bring up a component that can pick up all my errors. And what am I going to do? I want to send an email when there is an issue. So I'm just typing up components and bringing them in, and then it's just a question of connecting the components to add that process onto a flow. And this is generally how it's done. This is how Talend usually works. We have a lot of different types of components. We have components, for example, for data quality, where you're looking at something a bit more specific like schemas, or you're looking about matching, or you're looking about using and supplementing your data. So let's say, for example, you have a lot of data regarding addresses. What you can do is you can connect to the Google Maps API, bring in that data, and use that data to enrich the data that you already have. The same way as well, if we're looking at privacy, we're looking at to be able to mask the data, to shuffle the data, to encrypt the data as you're doing it. So the good thing about having these kind of components is that it gives you a complete overview of being able to very, very simply create a governance process on your data and making sure that your data stays secure. I mean, it's like usually like they say when it comes to compliance, especially on data. If you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that our data is all completely correct, that our data is very, very clear, and that we don't have any kind of issues in regards to the quality of the data. The good thing that we have with the Talend platform is that we're looking at how it is that we actually manage these processes on the cloud. And this is very, very simple. We have a very simple platform that what we do is we can see the jobs that we've created, we can see these processes, and then we can see the different kind of environments that we've placed in the process. We can see if the processes have worked, if they haven't worked. And at the end of the day, like I said, everything begins and ends with the data itself. And here what we're looking at is being able to understand the trust of the data and the validity of that data, how much we trust that data, how much we take care of that data. And all of these processes all feed back into a clean data set of the data that I currently have now. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jason, for your insights. Your demo is showing how we can leverage the functionalities of the Talend platform throughout our data journeys. Tell me, please, can you share some insights on the deployments, especially the hybrid deployments that are, let's say, becoming more and more requested in the current times?
Sure. So let me just go back to sharing the screen. So here what we generally tend to do is we tend to look at how it is at Talend and how this gets deployed. So with this kind of deployment, what we generally tend to do is we tend to look at the flexible type of deployment which is available. Generally, we tend to look at the on-premise, which is what you currently have had all along. You have the public clouds, and how do we do this? We do this completely by bringing it together with our cloud solution. We're looking at development, which is completely end-to-end, which allows you to develop absolutely anywhere. And how do we do this? I mean, this at the end of the day, what we're doing is we are connecting each of the different types of areas which you can deploy all this. We're looking at cloud, we're looking at on-premise, looking at SaaS. So we're looking at the hybridity of the data and where the data is contained in itself. So looking at being able to connect this data, and we do this completely with the Talend platform, as you've seen. So specifically here, we're looking at why we do this. We do this because of security overall, operational freedom of where you have everything. And what does this lead into? This leads into lower maintenance costs. And here, now specifically, when we generally tend to look at the actual architecture of the cloud, we look at having our core services of the cloud and all the applications being on the cloud. We look at the connectivity that's available here. We're looking at being able to get each of the different applications that I had shown you. But then the question comes usually on how do we process that data? So for that, like I said, we use a hybrid model. So we have two options. The first option is being able to connect using what we call a cloud engine, which means the processing is done by Talend. Talend has a machine ready for you, and you just use it to process that data. What's the main issue here? The main issue here is that there is a firewall issue. You're trying to connect it to your on-premise data, and the red circle can always be a problem. So how do we usually move this? For this, typically what we have is we have a remote engine. It is an installer, a Windows installer that is installed in your local on-premise, and you can configure absolutely and leverage your scaling and elasticity when it comes to the connection of your data and being secure in that connection as well. Also as well, you have the possibility to be able to connect to a VPC. So if, for example, you are using an AWS or Azure cloud environments as well as an on-premise environment, you can connect it through your VPC, and you can also choose a deployment. So it's not just a question of having this just one engine available. You can install as many engines as you need. So this is generally what we tend to look at when we look at Talend Cloud.
Thank you so much, Jason. Another question from the audience is related to the data sources. And also, each and every customer is asking, what are the data sources that I can connect to? What are the limitations in terms of data sources?
Right, so when it comes to data sources, we can connect to literally hundreds of data sources. Now here, like I said, it's not a question of just only connecting to databases. We can connect to file servers. We can bring in the data from different kind of files that are required. So there's not really much of a limitation as such. If the data is there, be it structured or unstructured, the data can be ingested with Talend. So what we can do is I can show you, for example, on Studio, how it would work. We would have all these different kind of components that we're doing that we have here available. So for example, if I look at cloud and look at Azure, we can look at Azure Data Warehouse. We can look at Azure Data Lake Storage. We're looking at Azure Storage Blob Storage, any kind of messaging queues. So the data, the versatility of the product is it allows you to connect your data where it is. If you're looking at IoT devices, you can bring in data from IoT devices as well. So it's not just a question of, like I said, a database or a file. It can be pretty much anything.
And speaking of anything, I wanted to add that we have been very successful in integrating data sources that are based on APIs. Many cloud-based data sources, they don't provide you with access to databases. They don't also provide Excel or file-based extracts in an efficient manner, but they do provide APIs. So we have been very successful in developing talent flows that are connecting to the source APIs and embedding the required intelligence in the talent flows in order to fetch data incrementally and to be able to aggregate such data in our warehouse.
Exactly. I mean, and this is exactly in format in XML, in JSON, whatever kind of format you bring in. We're able to extract that data. We're able to structure that data for you into a structured format for you to be able to then use wherever you need to use it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jason. I guess this is all for today. I would like to thank our attendees that joined us in the discussion that we had today. Thank you so much, Jason, for your insights. And of course, you can always reach us at btprovider.com to start the conversation on the data management. Thanks again and have a great day.